Whit and I decided that we wanted to have a family about 3 or 4 years after we got married. I remember that Christmas just like planning and thinking, this is it. Like, we are about to have a family. We've made these commitments to each other, and this is going to be so good and easy because that's the way it's supposed to be. I guess it was about 6 months into it, and I started thinking, this maybe isn't so easy. We saw a fertility specialist a little over a year out. I remember his office was super plain. It was very simple, and he drew on a piece of paper, and he looked at all of my records, and he said, you have less than a 1% chance of getting pregnant. In that meeting, he also told us about micro IVF. When we found out we were pregnant, that was a neat morning. Because I knew, like, in that moment, like, that was it. Like, that was what we had fought for. That was what the hurt looked like. That was what the joy looked like. It was all in that tiny little piece of plastic. The babies arrived on May 27th, 2011. I was 29 weeks pregnant. The boys were born first. Riggs, and then Becker, and then Gigi. And I remember the boys crying like instantly, but I didn't hear her cry immediately. And that, of course, just like fear. And I remember in that moment feeling like I was on the outside looking in at everybody that was in that room. Everybody was celebrating and everybody was happy, but I knew that I had 2-pound babies. And I didn't really feel like celebrating. I knew they were sick. And I knew that we had this huge road. Like, I just knew that what we were up against was a lot. A day after the babies were born, they told me that they were going to put a tube down Gigi's throat and give her a drug called surfactant. And at the time, any drug that they were willing to try or offer for them to be breathing on their own or growing or, thriving, we were for. They were hooked up to machines, and you always had to be careful that their body temperature was right. We were scared for them. We were scared for the outcome. We were scared for where we were and where we were going. On day 4 or 5, I had gone home to bake the nurses some brownies, and when I came back, I noticed that Whit was there, and he wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be at work. So it was really strange, and I remember washing my hands at the hand-washing sink and him just meeting me at the door. And he said, we think that Becker has NEC, and NEC is called necrotizing endocarditis. And basically, it's just like a bacteria in the bowel, and it has a really high death rate. I remember like holding those hot brownies that I had made for these nurses and like walking in and them all staring at me because it was almost like a death sentence. I don't know, at that point I just felt like we had fought so hard to get there that this part should be easy, and it was the furthest from that. We were in the NICU for 11 weeks, and we got the orders that we were going to get to be able to take the babies home. I remember looking at them and thinking, this is just a complete miracle. I received a drug in my arm to develop their lungs while they were still in utero. My little girl received surfactant therapy to develop her lungs at a rapid rate. And it was only because of the early detection of NEC that they were able to conquer that disease. And what we learned later was that all of these solutions were made possible by the work of the March of Dimes. The research, the dollars, the education that they're pumping into our communities, this is the work of the March of Dimes. And this story isn't just about us. 1 in 8 babies is born too soon, and the March of Dimes is working on behalf of families everywhere to give babies a fighting chance.